Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the cold spell that is going to be arriving towards the end of this week into the start of next working week. We have been talking about the potential for this for a number of weeks since the sudden stratospheric warming earlier in February, and all the models now and the majority of Ensemble members are pretty much on board for cold north to northeasterly winds into next week, and we could see snowfall with that as well. Again, there is still some uncertainty with the depth of cold and the instability around. Of course, as we head into March, there does come big question marks when it comes to wintry precipitation, because you can see a lot of wintry precipitation falling out of the sky because of the sun strength as we head into March and the generally quite mild conditions we have had through February. Ground temperatures can be quite warm, so we can have ridiculously cold upper air temperatures, but still see snow melt as it hits surfaces. So it's going to be a bit of a messy picture over the next week or two. We're just going to have to try and decipher what is going to be happening. But it is looking cold, and there does look like there could be widespread risk of at least falling snow and maybe some settling snow or even significant snow in places as well. Now we'll touch on the UKV, which starts to show that cold air moving in at day 5. We'll have a look at the long range charts, GFS, GM, ECMWF. We'll also have a look at a precipitation chart from the ECMWF just to give an example of what we could be seeing. Again, I don't want to focus on those too much yet because it is a bit early to be looking at precipitation, but just wanted to hint on that just to see what we could be looking at. And of course we'll have a look at the ensembles as well, which will give us a better idea on the spread of outcomes and possibilities, and of course the longevity of this cold spell as well. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Do want to apologise in advance if my voice does sound a little bit bad. I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, just trying to get through this video without having too many blunders, so I do apologise if that is a bit of an issue, but hopefully should get better over the next few days as we do head into this cold spell. So to start on the live radar, you can see we've got plenty of showers pushing in from the east at the moment. We did sort of bookmark today for a day where we were going to see quite a few showers. We had seen showers previously in the past few days, but today we're seeing quite a few widespread showers through the East Midlands, up towards North East England, into Yorkshire as well. And seeing some persistent rain to parts of southeast England towards Sussex and Kent. And again, this is a weather front associated with quite a cold pool of air pushing in from the east. But that cold pool of air is relatively isolated, and the surface conditions are still around that sort of 5 or 6 degree mark. So yes, it is very cold aloft, but at the surface, most of this is falling as rain. But if you are in some of the heavier pulses in some of these showers or this weather front, I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a few flakes of snow or of some form of wintry precipitation, ice or sleet or hail or something like that, as this does progress westwards. It should clear up over the course of this evening, and many areas will be going much colder overnight tonight. The big thing with this is, yes, there will be showers moving in, it will be wet at times, but it will make it feel cold out there. With that wetness around and the cold easterly wind, it's going to make those feel like temperatures quite widely down towards freezing in places here, even though the surface temperatures are still around those mid-single digits. If you do put on those surface temperatures, as of around 3 PM as I'm recording this, you can see widely blues and hints of yellow, again, mid-single digits to maybe upper single digits in places. Nothing ridiculously mild, nothing ridiculously cold, generally average to below average for the time of year. Now, if we do put on the feel-like temperature at the moment, you'll be able to see that it is feeling a lot colder than those surface temperatures are indicating. Look at that widespread lighter blues indicating temperatures feeling like it's close towards freezing. Some areas further north and westwards up towards Liverpool, perhaps still feeling sort of mid-single digits. Again, that is sheltered by some of the hills through Yorkshire. But most areas it is feeling cold, especially down that east coast, feeling pretty bitterly cold out there at the moment. It will warm up slightly towards the end of this working week, but as I said, into the weekend and the start of next week, it's going to get cold once again, potentially even colder than it is now, probably likely actually colder than it is now. So if we do go over to the UK and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see all those showers spreading at the moment. Again, mostly rain, but there could be a bit of winteriness mixed in those over any moderate hills and further inland under higher intensities. Beyond that, it eventually does clear, and into the 1st of March, it's going to be a relatively dry day, but pretty cold. Still a few showers around, but nowhere near as intense and as widespread as they were today, and it is going to feel still cold with that easterly flow. As we head beyond that into the 2nd of March, you can see still relatively similar. With a few showers in places, bit of cloud, but still some sunshine and an easterly flow. And then into Friday, very similar, very little showers around. However, into the weekend, you can start to see these showers appearing on the top right of the chart, and that is more a northeasterly flow coming in, and that is that cold air starting to push in, and you can see a lot of showers associated with that. And they are widely falling as snow out in the North Sea, a few hundred miles offshore, and that's because very cold air is moving in. That very cold air will get moderated the more it pushes southwards, but from the latest models, it's looking likely that sort of -10 air will be spreading quite widely in the north and could even inch further southwards, giving widespread cold conditions. You can see the mean sea level pressure, northerly wind coming in there, and look at those upper air temperatures. Widely around -5 or lower than that initially for the early hours of Sunday, but you can look to our northeast, -10, -11, or even colder than that, starting to push in with very low dew points as well. It's going to make it feel absolutely freezing out there as that does move in, and it's looking likely to be set in for the rest of that week. Again, it is early March, so whenever we see sunshine, it will give those temperatures a bit of a boost, and it'll give those feel-like temperatures a bit of a boost. But inevitably, with these sort of air masses, cold northeasterly winds, it's going to feel like we're back in the depths of winter come next week, even more so than it does this week. If we do put on those dew points as well, you can see widely below freezing, and when we have freezing dew points, it means that those precipitation showers will likely have some sort of wintry nature to them whenever those temperatures drop below sort of 3 or 4 degrees. So we are likely to see a lot of wintriness around in terms of falling snow, stuff like that. We'll have to see any settling. You see, at the moment we do have cold dew points in places, but it's not as widespread as it will be next week, and that's why those showers across the Midlands and North East England are mostly falling as rain. Even though it is very cold, it's mostly falling as rain, or pretty much all falling as rain, because those dew points are above freezing. As I said, there could be a bit of wintriness in the far south, over some higher ground, because those dew points are slightly below freezing. If you finish by just looking at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures widely around that 5 to 8 degrees. Again, average to below average, but feeling a lot colder than that, wherever we do have those showers, cloud, and that strong easterly wind. Overnight tonight, temperatures will widely drop down towards the low single digits. Again, could be a frost in places where we see clearer skies, but again, not expecting anything too widespread. And in tomorrow afternoon, again, 5 to 8 degrees, maybe 9 degrees in there somewhere, as those temperatures slowly rise. We see less showers and a slightly milder air mass in from the east. As we head into Thursday, overnight temperatures once again mid to low single digits. Again, not too cold. And Thursday afternoon, again, 5 to 9 degrees. And then finally into Friday, could be an overnight frost there, more widely in places we see clearer skies, and then into the afternoon again, 5 to 8 degrees. And then as we head into the weekend, you can see those temperatures once again quite cold overnight, but again nothing ridiculously cold apart from areas in the north where into the early hours of Saturday it does get widely down below freezing, and then into Saturday afternoon, 5 to 8 degrees once again, and then into the early hours of Sunday quite widely down to those low single digits, if not towards freezing, as once again we do see that very cold air starting to move in from the northeast. You can see out in the North Sea, it's 3 or 4 degrees surface temperature, just showing you how cold that air mass is as it does move in. Now, if you start to have a look at those long-range charts, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF, and the ensembles, you can see the easterly flow in at the moment, but generally under higher pressure with a cool or cold easterly wind. However, that high pressure moves up to our northeast, and towards the weekend we see bitterly cold northeasterly winds starting to appear. Again, the GFS is not quite as sharp with those northeasterly winds, so it's taking a little bit longer to get that cold air in. And we see low pressure collide with it, which could give a widespread snow event for areas, perhaps in the south. Again, huge uncertainty with that, and we're just generally staying very cold air all the way to the end of the week before eventually a westerly flow starts to push back in. The best way to look at this is the potential equivalent temperature. You can see it is cold at the moment, but again, nothing absolutely ridiculously cold. Before eventually next week, you can see those purples starting to push in, very cold air mass, and we eventually clear that by the middle of March. But it always stays very close by, so it could turn us colder once again after next week. If we look at the GEM, which does it slightly differently, in a sort of a colder way. You can see the high pressure moves up towards Greenland. We see a sharper northeasterly wind, not a low coming down the eastern side of this high pressure, which means that cold air gets in faster. We see very cold air consuming us, and once again, potentially small channel lows bumping into that cold air with moisture, and that could provide, again, significant snow in places. Again, if we run it back, you can see the cold air moving through at the moment, eventually clearing, and then we see that bitterly cold northeasterly wind coming in, perhaps the -10 isophone coming in for many northern areas, and could even move and linger further southwards as well at times, potentially. And look at the temperature deviation, well below average, good 8 to maybe even 10 degrees below average in places, bitterly cold. If we look at the ECMWF, does something very, very similar. Again, a northeasterly flow coming in, bitterly cold air consuming us with very low heights, would be a lot of showers pushing in there, and then eventually that low continues over the top of us with very cold air masses. And then what do we see here? Another channel low colliding into that cold air with a straight northerly wind, bitterly cold air coming out of the Arctic, -25 isotherm, just about 500 miles or so to our north. You can see the -25 isotherm is directly to our north if you follow those isobars back, and you can see mild air, low pressure is bumping into that cold air, and this can provide big snow through the Midlands, perhaps, with that milder air mass slightly further northwards. Now, if you have a look at the precipitation charts for this ECMWF run, I just want to show it as an example, just so that we have an idea of what we could be looking at. Again, this is not a forecast by any means. Things will change, and all the different runs have got slightly different outcomes, but this will typically show what the shower activity will be like, and then if we see any of those weather fronts bumping into that cold air. So as we head towards the weekend, that very cold air starts to arrive, and we see very cold northeasterly winds and a lot of wintry showers pushing in, and could be some initial weather fronts associated with that as it does clear in. The proper bitterly cold air arrives by Monday, widespread heavy snow showers, and even a weather front, as I said, pushing through as well, giving a covering in places. Initially, all the lows are through parts of France and Iberia, but eventually those lows do move northwards, and right towards the end of the run, you can see that low approaching, bumping into that cold air, and could be quite a big snow event through northern parts there. But before that, we've got a number of days, good 3 or 4 days of heavy snow showers pushing in on that northerly wind. And again, if that low pressure system is a couple hundred miles further southwards, we'd continue in that very cold air mass for longer periods of time. Again, we will concentrate on these precipitation charts in a lot more detail over the coming days as it comes more into the shorter range time frame. But still being at sort of day 6, day 7, day 8, it is still a little bit uncertain for exact positioning and exact intensities of showers and little low pressure systems, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it. At this stage, the only thing we can say for certain is a northeasterly wind is coming, and it's going to be cold, if not very cold, for the time of year. As said, the big caveat though is it is into early March. That sun will give us a little bit of warmth towards the surface, but that will not really impact those upper air temperatures, which will be bitterly cold and will be producing quite a few heavy wintry showers in places. Now, if you finish by just having a look at the ensembles, you can see it's cold at the moment, but we turn slightly milder over the coming days under higher pressure, and then we see that plunge down towards the -8, so maybe even -10 point from some ensemble members into early next week. That continues for about 4 or 5 days, perhaps even longer from some ensemble members, before quite a few start to increase back towards average. After that, precipitation does increase, and we still generally average to maybe slightly below average, so uncertainty exactly the extent of the cold air there, but we are continuing to see a lot of precipitation, so it could be more wintry potential there. But as I said, as we head further into March, that sun strength gets stronger, and that cold air to our north does start to diminish as we inevitably head into spring and eventually summer. So the cold air does slowly diminish, so we can see very cold northerly towards the end of March with very cold synoptics, but it won't actually be that cold because that cold air really isn't there in the first place. So we'll have to keep an eye on what happens over the next few weeks, but it does look likely a cold spell is coming early next week. Now, if you put on the 2 meter temperatures, you can see widely it's looking likely sort of mid to low single digits next week, and that will be pretty cold with the wind chill as well, making it feel even colder than that, and overnight temperatures will be dropping towards freezing. Again, the dew points will be well below freezing, down towards -5, so any precipitation falling out of the sky will have quite a high chance of having a wintry nature to it, and the new snow depth. There's quite a few snow spikes there. Again, nothing too significant as we are still a number of days out, but just showing you the potential there for snow. Again, if we finish by just looking at the ECMWF ensembles, very similar. Big plunge down towards the -5 to -10 region. early next week, and it does hang on all the way to sort of the 10th, 11th of March, where it does increase, but there's still a substantial number keeping us very cold. And increasing precipitation means there is the real potential for widespread falling snow in many places. So we will have to see what happens, but a cold spell is incoming. Pretty much as cold as the spell we saw in December and January. Could be slightly more wintry with more low pressure, stronger sun, meaning showers will be more widespread. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with that with the short range models. But I must put the caveat out there: we are into March now. We have got increasing sun strength, so temperatures will not be quite as cold as if this sort of pattern came off in January or December, or even a couple of weeks ago in early February. So I must say that it won't be as cold, probably in terms of surface temperatures, as the cold spells we saw in December and January, but it could be more widely wintry, snowy, and with that northeasterly flow, if it does get that wind gusting, it could feel colder than the colder spells we have had this winter so far. So we'll have to see what happens. Make sure you stay safe out there, as it is going to feel very cold, and you're going to have to get wrapped up warm with the hats and gloves back on, and of course there could be some wintry hazards as well. So make sure you do stay safe out there and keep up to date with videos, because I'll keep you in the know of what's going on. And of course we'll look at those precipitation charts as well, so I know a lot of people will be interested if we will see any snow next week. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.